What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, SongsOfRaze, and today I'm bringing a Modern Warfare 2 gun guide to be able to bring to you. Now today we're going to be covering over the M4 and how to be able to build it aggressive to be able to play that fast-paced game that we all know that Call of Duty is pretty much founded upon. Now when you first have access to multiplayer when it comes to Modern Warfare 2, you will already have the M4 unlocked, but what you'll find is that it doesn't have any kind of like niche or any kind of area of strength when it comes to it, because every other gun pretty much has a niche role and is better in some regards to the M4. What you can do is build it towards those to be able to make it so it's pretty much gun and it's able to keep up with some of those. So when you first open up multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2, you will automatically have the M4 unlocked. It is one of your starter weapons, but what you'll find is it is the most average assault rifle that's out there, which it doesn't really have any strength that kind of like lead into any of the... So every other kind of like assault rifle that's in the category has something that's pretty much like one factor that makes it better than the M4. Now with attachments we can change that. We can try to make it a little bit more snappy, a little bit more in the aggressive playstyle, which is what I'm intending to do here. So what are we waiting for? Let's get right into it. Now before we dive into the actual attachments, what we should do is have a look into the base stats of the M4 so we can see what the baseline was, and then we can see how we've managed to improve upon it. So when it comes to the damage profile, we are looking at a 28, 22, 18, regardless of anywhere on the body, and then if you manage to land a headshot, it instantly goes up to 39, 30, and 25. What this works out is around about a 40% headshot multiplier, and this is at 811 rounds per minute. So when it comes to damage drop-offs or range, when it comes to this gun, we've got a 26.5 meters start, and that first damage drop-off is very, very nice, very respectable, and will keep your gun feeling very consistent when you play that aggressive playstyle. And then the second one will drop off to 45.5 meters, which while we can stretch this gun out all that way, you'll then need to be able to hold him down like burst fire. You don't really want to be able to hold full auto to be able to extend, reach those kind of ranges. And to be honest with you, considering how the recoil will pretty much go with this gun, it's not as feasible to be able to challenge users at that distance. So if we knock off the last damage range with the 18 points of damage when it comes to the body shots, we will be looking at around about a 222 millisecond to 296 millisecond time to kill, and that's before we even add in headshots, which means that we can reduce that down even further. Our standard aim down sight is 240 milliseconds, which is kind of respectable, and our standard sprint out time is 210 milliseconds, and our tactical sprint is 310 milliseconds. And looking at reload times, this is a 1.32 second standard. So now we've got all the standard stats out of the way, let's have a quick look into the attachments or the combination that I've managed to put together to be able to make it have that snappy kind of feel. So we go into the gunsmith, we've got our laser, we've got our underbarrel, we've got our ammunition, we've got our stock, we've got our rear grip. If we go into the laser section, I have gone for the Recoil LAZ44 V3, and the reason why is we want to be able to get that aim down sight speed and that aiming stability. These are the main two ones that you want to be able to focus on, and while the Recoil is a really good laser, it's not the best in category because I haven't unlocked it. What I mean by this is the Recoil is the best one to be able to easily unlock, and I do recommend that you do try and use this one where possible, but if you do have access and you have been using the EBR, what you can do is skirt all the way over to here and get the FFS OLEV laser. And now the reason why is because while this does give us some aim down sight speed and gives us our aiming stability like it was doing before, it gives us a bigger bonus compared to the other lasers, and it also gives us some sprint to fire speed, which makes us a little bit more snappy. So I highly recommend that you do level up your EBR 14 to level 10, which is what I'm currently in the process of doing. And when you do, it makes this gun so much more snappy and is able to take on some much closer range fights. Now keep in mind, when you do use these lasers, they do have visible lasers to the enemies when you are aiming down sight, and that goes for the OLEV laser as well as the Recoil LAZ. Now the only main difference between this is the LAZ does go in green, whereas the FSS OLEV goes in red, and it's a little bit harder to be able to spot the red one, I believe, in my personal opinion, so I do think that's also a positive that does go in the OLEV laser's favour. Moving from there, we do have the FTAC Ripper 56, and the reason why we've gone for this is to be able to help us out with our aiming idle stability, our hip fire accuracy, and our recoil stabilization. Now this does hurt us a little bit when it comes to aim down sight speed and walking speed, but considering all of these to be able to help us to be able to take on those fights a little bit further range, I do think it's probably one of the best ones to be able to go for, and especially since we're going to be in aggressive playstyle and we're going to be up close and personal, having that bonus to our hip fire accuracy is also a big plus, and I do think that helps us out when it comes to like really close range engagement. Now the real benefit to this is also going to be that hipfire accuracy. The reason why this also helps is because when we come out of our sprint to fire time is the gap between when we activate, when we finish our sprint, when we hold down the fire button, and the gap between when that first bullet does come out. If we have our hipfire accuracy a little bit tighter, that means that those first bullets, if you do start shooting before you start aiming down sight, it just has a smaller cone for it to be able to go into first, which means more of your shots are going to be on target when you transition between sprinting and shooting. So I do think the F-Tac Ripper is one of the best ones to be able to go for, but you can technically use any of the grips, but this is the most consistent for me. So if you do not have the F-Tac Ripper unlocked, feel free to pick up any of these grips as long as it goes for the same 3 stats, because there are quite a few that do the exact same job, but they just have smaller bonuses. So I do think the F-Tac Ripper is probably best in category when it comes to that. Moving from that one, we do have the ammunition. Now the reason why I've gone for the ammunition is because this is a flex spot. Now the reason why this is a flex spot is because it depends massively upon whether you use an optic or not. If you're comfortable with the iron sights of the M4, which I am, I really love how clean they are, I find them really easy to be able to use, then by all means go for an ammunition, and in which case I would recommend going for the armor piercing. What this does is it gives us additional damage to vehicles, which is like ground-based streaks, but also any kind of UAVs or counter UAVs or any helicopters that are in the sky. You can use your gun to be able to try and shoot those out. We also get some increased bullet penetration as well, which means that if any enemies try to dive behind some cover, you can then try and shoot them down through that and try and get some hit markers to be able to help you a little bit easier to be able to finish some enemies off. Now this does come as a con for some bullet velocity, but considering we're going to be aggressive, the M4 already has some decent bullet velocity, we don't need any more, so therefore at least in multiplayer modes I don't think that this is really much of a con, so therefore you can just have these additional bonuses. Like I said, if you do find that you don't like the iron sights, feel free to go onto an optic and go for one of these close range sights, and that should help you to be able to stay on target. Moving from there, we do have the grip, and this is the X10 grip, and the reason why I've gone for the X10 is because it helps us with sprint to fire speed, and it also helps us with some aim down sight speed. Now some of you might be asking why I don't go for the Phantom grip, and the reason why is because this does then increase our flinch resistance, but it is also very difficult to be able to try and get hold of. The reason why is because you need to be able to extend yourself through the M4 trees to be able to get to the FSS Hurricane, and while this does seem like a good grip on paper, because it will give us bigger bonuses, if you ever get hit in some of those firefights, that additional flinch resistance means that you might miss some of your shots, and especially if you do go for one-on-one gunfights. So therefore I do think that the X10 gives us a nice middle ground where it gives us the sprint to fire, gives us the aim down sight speed, but and a tiny bit of less recoil control without having the downsides of being able to miss some of my shots if I do go on some one-on-one kind of combat. And then lastly, we've got the stock. Now, the reason why I've gone for the Tempest P80 strike stock is pretty much the same reason why I've chose the certain grip that I have done, because you can go for the buffer tube, and the buffer tube will give you some bigger bonuses. It will make you so much more snappier, but the problem with that is that when it comes to recoil control and when it comes to flinch resistance, means that if you do get hit, once again, you're going to be aiming towards the sky, and you will lose some of those one-on-one gunfights, especially if you don't aim down sight first. And then when it comes to the recoil control, it made it almost impossible for me to be able to stretch my ranges out, and it pretty much limited me to within SMG kind of ranges, or just like stretching out to whereabouts shotguns would start falling off. The recoil penalty when it comes to the buffer tube is insane, and even though I think that I do have a decent recoil control management myself, I just felt that this did not fit for me, so in which case I went for the P80 strike stock, and this then actually was like a nice middle ground between having the additional bonuses of being able to be snappy, but then being able to still be controllable in the end. So with all of these attachments, what you can do as well is being able to, if you do max out the M4, you can tune some of these attachments. Now when it comes to the ammunition, I go all the way straight to bullet velocity, because when it comes to all these, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. Damage range and recoil smoothness, I like having both, so therefore I just keep that in the middle. But bullet velocity over recoil steadiness is definitely the way for me. F-Tac Ripper, when it comes to that, I just go for aiming idle stability, because aim walking speed doesn't make too much of a difference for me, so therefore I want to kind of like iron out a little bit more of that recoil. When it comes to the grip, we go straight to sprint to fire speed to be able to make us a little bit more snappy, and then that pretty much ties us all the way in. So with all of these stats all put in, when it comes to the attachments, when it comes to the tuning, what does this mean for our standard kind of like stats, or how does this kind of affect it? Well, I mean, in terms of like damage and ranges like that, because we haven't gone for barrels, because we haven't gone for muzzles or anything like that, it doesn't mean we're going to be extending those or hurting those in the first place. So that means that our standard range is still going to be very, very nice and very respectable. So what we are changing is going to be our aim down sight speed and our standard sprint speed. When it comes to our aim down sight speed, I did get this to be around about the same, so I got this to about 250 milliseconds, so if it is a little bit slow, it's only a tad and it's very fractional, which means that you won't really notice too much of a difference. But when it comes to our standard sprint out time, what this means is we've now gone down to 150 milliseconds, and our tactical sprint goes down massively to 217 milliseconds. With this current setup, that means we can go around the whole map sprinting around and we don't get punished anywhere near as hard as what we were being done with the initial gun, and that also tries to fall in line more with some of the other ARs as well, because while some of the ARs, apart from the AUG or the STB as I believe it's called in this game, everyone else has some really high level sprint out times, which means that it doesn't really pay for them to be able to be caught sprinting around the map. So with this in mind, you can then punish all of those users. You can be the aggressive one, you can play this almost like an SMG with a better range and better recoil properties, and I just genuinely loved how this actually felt in my hands. If you're not too fussed about some of the movement abilities or anything like that, so if you want to be able to have more ammunition or something like, you want to play it more of like, if you wanted to take this into Warzone for example, and you wanted to play something that was a bit more SMG or sniper support, what you can do is take off the ammunition, and then you can put on one of the magazine attachments. Just keep in mind that this will hurt most of the stats that we're trying to increase right now, but it still would be very dependable, especially in one of those sniper support kind of weapons, but how it will stack up against some SMGs is yet to be seen. So we've got Warzone's only been out like less than a day already, so we'll test it against some of those and see how it stacks up. Now if I was to put this into a class, well, what I would pair this up with, I'm currently leveling up my X12, so feel free to be able to change that for any kind of pistol that you want to be able to do. I do go for flash grenades because I find them better in this game than stun grenades, so therefore I have gone for that. I do go back and forth between Semtexes and drill charges to be able to, depending on the kind of map or depending on the scenario and which is kind of working for me. And when it comes to perk packages, what you can do is be able to put in double time, but what I find is that I enjoy having battle hardened and bomb squad, which makes me pretty much immune to almost every single kind of grenade that can possibly be thrown my way. Fast hands is there to be able to allow us to be able to reload and swap weapons faster and also use our equipment so we don't slow down. And then quick fix is also there to be able to allow us to be every single time we get a kill, instantly starts our health regen, so we're just constantly going from kill to kill and chaining it going forward. What you can do instead is, if you do want to do, if you're not a massive fan of quick fix, is to go for overclock. And then what you can do with this one is to be able to store up an additional field upgrade charge, and this will also increase that charge rate by 40%. And the reason why is because when we go into our pros, I do enjoy using dead silence with this class, and then you can use also a munitions box because you will go through ammunition quite quickly when it comes to the M4. And there you have it, that is the perfect aggressive M4 class in my opinion in this current state of multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below what you enjoyed about this gun. Let me know if this is something that you plan on taking in yourself, and also if you have any kind of other amendments. I'm curious to be able to see those down in the comment section down below. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of this video, and just to let you know, we do have socials, so feel free to follow us over on Facebook, Twitter, and our Discord server. All of those links will be found in the video description below. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family, as always, for their continued support. It really does help the channel out. And that just leaves me to say, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.